Right. Good morning. Welcome to On Education. I'm Neil McGregor. I'm the chairman of the chamber. This morning I'm having problems with my internet connection, and so if I freeze, I'll be taken over by one of our colleagues, Anna or Madalena. Can I please draw your attention first to the chat box, which is here. If you're watching us on Zoom. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, we will also try and make the connection, we'll repost in Facebook Live. But there are two things to draw your attention to. The first thing is an announcement that the Romanian Ministry of the Interior will organize a webinar on UK nationals' residency in Romania. This will be held tomorrow, the 9th of December. If you want to attend, you need to register today, and you have 1 hour to do so at the brexit@mai.gov.ro address, and that's in the chat box. The other thing to draw your attention to the chat box is we have a link to the webpage of the chamber that will tell you much better than I can about our distinguished speakers this morning. And the first person I'd like to introduce is Volker. Tell us a little bit on preparation of the matter. I've been lucky if I've got out of this without my connection crashing. Volker.
Thank you very much, Neil. Good morning, everyone. My name is Volker Moser. I am a co-founder of Romania Insider, which is the largest English news portal on Romania. We are objective and reliable. And my role today would be to very briefly kick off this event by sharing a few insights on the topic of today, on somehow giving it let's say, a wider platform idea. So as a cross-cultural coach and as also an English media publisher, as a foreigner that has lived in Romania and built up a company that actually focuses on the positive sides of Romania, I just, politically, many people are not quite happy so far right now after the elections, and there might be there is a Brexit, and there's a lot of political circumstances and discussions right now, as Neil just mentioned. But what I want to draw attention to is on Romania Insider, we launched Romania Appreciation Weeks a few weeks ago, and we invited people from all over the world that either live in Romania or that look at Romania from an international perspective to share their stories, what they appreciate about life in Romania. We've been overwhelmed by it. So first of all, in case you somehow want to get a positive inspiration on what others of different nationalities think about Romania, about life in Romania, and what makes this so special, I think that's a good way to get inspiration of it and somehow look at individual stories of it. And that's as a general part from my side. On the other hand, and more closely towards, let's say, your potential decision to move to Romania and work there, for weeks, the British Romanian Chamber of Commerce and us have worked on a job portal, actually, that somehow is connected to the BRCC Talent Academy. So I'm very happy that as of today, we launched on Romania-Insider/jobs a job portal that shows various jobs for internationals or for Romanians that consider to move to Romania. And it shows the diversity of the jobs that are being offered in Romania in very diverse industries, larger companies, smaller companies. So with that having in mind, I just want to invite you to somehow look at Romania from the positive side, but also check out different people and stories, how they perceive it, life there and work there. And this just as a positive start of this event that has very interesting speakers.
I think Neil may have dropped off, and I'm next in the running order. So shall I just jump in, Anna?
Yes, please,
Okay.
Nigel.
Yes,
Okay, well,
thank you, Volker. Yes, Nigel, please.
yeah, good morning, everybody. There's a number of names that I know very, very well, so it's lovely to see you all. And thanks, Norman, for the wave. Wave back to you. There's a few names I don't know, but I've already started looking up on LinkedIn and really interested to have you joining. So I feel a little bit, maybe a little bit of an imposter, but I'll try and give a few introductory comments. Obviously, my role as Country Director of the British Council is around building and maintaining, where possible, the UK's relationship with Romania through education and the arts. And university exchange is a really important part of that, of course, especially in the current context. So I think the first thing I would like to say is that the UK-Romania higher exchange is extremely positive. One of the largest in Europe at the moment, has had the highest growth in Europe over the last 10 years. Very significant and brings huge benefit to both our countries. I think at a very soft level, the trust and understanding that it gives people from both countries is really significant and feeds into and supports ongoing exchange in so many other areas. Of course, UK universities benefit, and one of the things that I hear when I speak to leaders and international people in the international offices of UK universities is how fantastic Romanian students are and how well they perform. I remember in particular one faculty leader who came to us and said, we want you to help us get more Romanian students because we want to go up the rankings, and the best way to go up the rankings is to get really, really good academic results, and our Romanian students get the best academic results of anybody on our course. And I asked him for details of that, and he said, okay, 15 students, 100% employability within 6 months, and 14 of them got firsts. And I hear that across the board. So UK universities benefit enormously from the quality of Romanian students. There are also a very significant number of Romanian academic staff and research staff at British universities. Numbers are a little bit difficult to get hold of, but something in the region of 700-800, which is very high contingent and compares very well with other countries across Europe. And of course, UK universities benefit enormously from that. And we hope that will continue. And of course, the reason why the exchange is so healthy is because British universities offer a world-class education, both in terms of the quality of learning that they offer, but also because they are in international environments. Genuinely international environments. And if you want to succeed in today's internationally connected world, then getting an internationally connected education is absolutely vital. And that translates into the employability. The employability statistics of graduates from UK universities are very, very impressive. And that's one of the reasons why Romanian parents are so keen for their children to go to British universities. And then I would just say as well that both our countries benefit enormously because of the contributions that Romanian alumni make to Romanian alumni of British universities make to civil life back here in Romania. And I've met many people in very senior positions who are alumni of UK universities. And it's always interesting that because of that, they are not necessarily more pro-British or pro-the UK than they would be otherwise, but they understand the perspectives. And I always remember one story of actually it was a Greek person who was negotiating around the financial settlement at EU level, and I asked him if his education in the UK had made him better disposed towards the British position, and it was quite interesting. He said, no, of course not. However, it makes me understand the British position better, and it makes me understand how to negotiate and reach an agreement better. And I think that's a really strong endorsement of the value of an international education. I think it's important to flag up that change is coming. On a positive point, and it's not something that I've seen mentioned very much, there is a growing provision of UK higher education here in Romania. Still quite small, but there is a growing number of partnerships between British universities and not always Romanian universities. It might be Romanian medical institutions or business institutions, which are offering access to degrees from the UK, both at undergraduate and at postgraduate level. And that, I think, is going to grow quite rapidly in the coming years. And quite a big part of our agenda at the British Council is to try to foster the connections that and then foster the insights and expertise which will enable them to grow faster. And then, of course, the change of the status of EU students in the UK from 2021 is bound to have an impact on the numbers that go to the UK, and I think also how long they stay and the subjects they study. So change is going to come, and we're not quite sure what that change will look like at the moment. But of course, we need to be aware and track it and be ready for it. And I would still expect, even after those changes, we're going to get a very high level of exchange all the same, and that benefit to both our countries is going to continue. So that's my overview of the state of the higher education exchange, and a few words about where I think it will go. And I'm looking forward to hearing what other speakers have to say about that too, and also about the other issues around the contribution Romanian graduates make here when they come back. So thank you. Over to our next speaker.
Thank you, Nigel. That's very interesting, and it's good to find out that also the UK perceives the Romanian students like that. Our next speaker is Alice Duter from Junior Achievement. Alice, I think you also have a presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you, Anna. I will share my screen in a few seconds. Thank you. I would like to start first with expressing a big thank you for the British Romanian Chamber of Commerce for the invitation. And I'm very happy to be today here at this webinar. I think that the topic you proposed is very actual and interesting, and what I wanted to point out first are a few opportunities that Romanian students have in junior achievement programs. Either if we speak about students who have studied for a few periods in UK, or students who are currently in Romanian educational institutions. I will start with a few words about junior achievement. It is the world's largest education youth serving NGO. And what we intend as a mission to do is to inspire young people and support them prepare to succeed in entrepreneurship, and also to prepare for a future career. The history starts back over 100 years ago, and Junior Achievement has delivered hands-on experiential learning in different educational pillars like entrepreneurship, financial education, and work literacy. And as you can see, for Romania, since 1993, each year we involved around 250,000 of students and over 3,000 teachers from all over the country in different programs and projects with learning by doing experience and project-based experience, which helps them to prepare for the job market and for a future career. As regards the university students, they have different opportunities in the entrepreneurial university program, which we implement since 2016 in partnership and with the support of the Romanian American Foundation. And within this program, we put an emphasis on supporting higher educational institutions in developing entrepreneurial and innovative approaches. And of course, in supporting teachers to offer students different blended learning experience entrepreneurship courses, the occasion to take part to a learning by doing competition, and also to an entrepreneurial incubator. And in this way, to help them prepare for the dynamic job market. Students involved in the Junior Achievement Startup Program have the chance to develop their entrepreneurial potential, to apply what they have learned in faculty, and to practice different skills that are necessary to launch a business. Because during this learning process, they create business plans, startups. They learn how to run a business pilot, and also they work with their coordinating teachers and with some business mentors to develop the product or service, to see how they can use resources for managing their business, and they prepare for launching their entrepreneurial career. Also, during this entrepreneurship program, they have the opportunity to accumulate the mandatory practical period in the faculty, connected to the field of study or the related industry of the faculty. What I want to emphasize is that during this experience with the JA Entrepreneurial Education Program, we collected some feedback also from the teachers, from the mentors, and from the students participants in this experience. And they said that they believe this experience helped them to be better prepared for a future career, and also to be more motivated to discover and understand this entrepreneurial world, the steps that a real entrepreneur is making when he is intending to introduce on the market a product or service, and also to come up with different entrepreneurial ideas in a future company or department that they will work in the future. Also, I think that related to this topic, to the current topic of the webinar, it's very important for the students, after they had this learning experience in UK, to come back in Romania and share with other young people of their age what they have learned there, and what was different, how they can apply the ideas they obtained during the study program in UK, and also how that experience helped them. I think they also can think about applying different examples, best practice examples from UK in Romania, and why not try to launch their own business in a field that is of interest for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nida. I'm back. So our next speaker is Robert. Robert, you're in the UK, I believe.
Not at this moment. Not at this moment.
You've been in the UK
right
so
now. Right now, I'm with my heart in UK though.
Right. Well, I know we have some of our audience here who are in the UK. I recognise some people there, and I believe that we are now have 45 people with us on Facebook. So welcome to you all as well. Robert, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it was my choice to be the last to have the last intervention. Thinking back, I don't think it was the best choice, because after such speakers and such intervention, it's hard for me as a student to cope with that. But first of all, I would like to thank British Romanian Chamber of Commerce for this event and for this opportunity. I would like also to thank Nigel for the kind words for the Romanian students that are studying in the UK particularly, and because British Council is one of our strategic partners as well in the League of Romanian Students Abroad. I'm the president of this organization. I thought, because I don't know a lot of people that are with us today, to speak briefly about what's this organization. So the League of Romanian Students Abroad, it's an NGO for students, led by students. Right now we have 15 branches all over the world, especially in the biggest universities, academic countries. The biggest one, as Nigel said as well, is the UK one. We are keen to see what's going to happen at this moment after with Brexit and the turnout of this event, of this unfortunate event for our community. Among our objective is to represent our community in those specific countries, to help them to integrate and to have a smooth integration in the society. And as well, another objective is repatriation, or supporting them in the involvement on different projects or opportunities for development of our country, Romania. If I will have to present our organization and what we do, is going to take us forever. But I would like to stay and tell you just a bit about one of our projects. It's called Into Romania. All right, I see now that Nigel came back. Just a quick mention. I am as well a graduate of a UK university, and that is the University of Manchester. And so I'm a proud Mancunian as well. So coming back to our project Into Romania. So it's spelled INTU, Romania. It was meant to be what's at this moment a BRCC Connect. So a platform where we promote the opportunities for interns, so just the internship opportunities from Romania to our community, to the students, to the Romanian students that are studying abroad. But because the pandemic context, and because a lot of businesses and firms had to adapt to new conditions and just canceled a lot of intern programs, the project suffered a small modification, and at this point it leaves us with a strong partnership with another organization that is called HR Club Romania, which maybe some of you know it already. It involves a lot of HR members from most of the businesses in Romania, and what we are trying to do at this point is to actually rethink the concept of internship in Romania, and to work a bit on the awareness of the benefits of the internship in Romania, and as well, as I said, on the concept, because in Romania, most of the students, if in UK, we know we have those internships in the summer, we have the spring week. We learned all about these opportunities, and we know already the benefits of them. In Romania, the conditions are slightly different. Most of the time, when you think about an internship, you might think you're spending 3 months, 4 months doing nothing, or doing just paperwork. And it's not that students are not that motivated, or they can't understand, or they don't understand the full potential of those opportunities. So what we are trying to do at this point is to rethink this concept, coming with a new name, and then promoting it in Romania. And for that, I hope that BRCC will support us and will join our cause as well. Thank you.
Back. Thank you very much. One thing that I've just noticed is that when you have the chat open, it immediately closes your picture and you can't unmute your microphone. So thank you very much for that. I'm very pleased that we have another University of Manchester graduate who's currently one of our interns in the chamber. So I've been hearing about the curry mile from him, one thing we actually don't have in Bucharest. So I know we have some questions. And I think the first person who had a question was Dorina Tanase. Would you care to unmute yourself and ask your question, Dorina? Hello, Dorina, you wanted to, I think you're on mute at the moment. Nope, in that case, I have some other questions in the meantime. So I shall go through those and we can see what we can, our panelists think of these. For your first question, I would say, and by the way, we have 142 people watching us now on Facebook. Do you believe that most of the Romanian students who are abroad want to return home? Or do you think they're going to stay abroad for good, or at least until they retire? What do you think about that? Can I ask first, probably we should start off in the same or the reverse order. So maybe Robert, you care to answer that question first, your knowledge of your fellow Romanian students abroad.
Right. Thank you for this question. So if we look at studying abroad or the conditions from other countries before Brexit or before this pandemic, most of the students are keen to stay in that specific country or going to another one, but most of them are their hopes are to stay in that specific country after they graduated and looking for opportunities, job opportunities right there. And this is before the pandemic. At this moment, what we saw, all right, it's fair to mention that the labor market and opportunities, graduate opportunities, even for students, it's a lack of them everywhere, including Romania. But what we saw was a bit of rethinking this option from the students and thinking more of coming back to Romania in such conditions. But as well, it's just because we correlated it very easy with the actual context of the COVID-19. But after this pandemic will go away, hopefully as fast as possible. So the trend is after I graduate to look for more opportunities for jobs in that specific country. I could get into the objectives and the reasons as well, but I don't know if I should at this point. I think Nigel froze us. Neil froze.
Yeah, I'll follow. By the way, Robert, I was here all the time. Thanks for your kind words.
Alex, have you any thoughts on that, please?
Thank you. I think that my thoughts are connected with what Robert said, and it depends on each student.
Nigel, do you want to take that up, or?
No, Alice. Sorry, I'll follow on from you.
No problem. And I think it depends on each student about what decision they take. And I think that we have students that decide to come back to Romania. And in the past, Junior Achievement also administrated a scholarship program for high school students. In partnership with an association from UK, and from that experience, the high school level, I can say that the major part of the students, the high school students who had the chance to study in the 11th grade in UK, decided to continue also with the 12th grade there. And some of them had the chance also to remain for the faculty in UK. Some of them also came back to Romania, and they tried to value the experience from the UK, and also to give the chance and recommend to other students how to apply for a scholarship, to what to be attentive when they choose a high school or a faculty, and also to get involved in different students associations and begin different projects that were for the benefit of the students, organizing workshops or team buildings on different topics and so on. So what can I conclude is that there is a very high number of students with initiative that want to come back to Romania and bring the experience from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice, very much. Nigel, did you want to say something
you.
before we jump
Nigel.
into the other questions?
Yes, certainly. I'm listening to the other comments. I think it's quite a nuanced picture. I don't work directly with individual students, so I know we've got representatives from international schools here and people who do work in coaching students to apply for UK universities. They may be better placed to comment on this. But I think two things I'd like to draw attention to. One is that I think today's younger generation, whether it's X or Y, I lose count or Z, are not necessarily based in one country. I can think of at least two alumni of UK universities that I know very well who actually have a base in both the UK and Romania. And I think increasingly, that's what leaders of the future are going to be like. They're not going to be stuck in one country. And I think through the pandemic, we have connected way through platforms like this, and again it means physical location is less important than it used to be. So I think that's an important consideration. Another one is, as I was saying earlier, about provision of UK higher education here in Romania. Through research that we've done in the British Council, we've identified that there is a real attraction for early career professionals to stay in Romania, get a job with one of the multinationals that are based here and recruit large numbers of very talented young Romanians, but continue their education. And Romanians are such good students that where in some cases other nationalities might need to study full time to follow, for example, a master's in business administration or in international relations, Romanians seem to be able to do it alongside holding down a really difficult job. And I think you're going to see more of that. Already we know of some Romanians who have been admitted to UK undergraduate courses, but actually because of the pandemic have carried on studying them from home here. So I think we're going to have a much more of a sort of multi-country based workforce, actually.
Thank you very much, Nigel. We now have 183 people watching us on Facebook. Can I ask you to have a look at the questions in the chat box? There are questions there from a number of people. I think while you're reading the ones from the people who've written them there, I think Kirsten has written one. Martin, you have a question. Martin? Oh dear, we lost him as well.
I'd be happy to ask my question if I can.
Please do, please do.
Thank you. Sorry, let me put my video on, so I'm sitting here in the background. Hi everybody,
Thank
very
you.
interesting, really helpful to have this webinar, so thank you. I mean, I have a very practical question because I could employ students, and I do, in graduate roles and in intern roles in the UK, also in France and in Romania. Very interesting for us to employ Romanian students who've had a UK education, both in our office in Newcastle and in our office in Bucharest. And I would like to understand the salary expectations better, because that's obviously a big investment for, we're a services company, and so our salaries are the biggest part of our investment. What are the salary expectations for a Romanian graduate who is coming back to work, for example, in Bucharest? Could anybody share any experience or insight on that?
Well, Kirsten, you're in Newcastle, you mentioned.
Yeah, I've got an office in Newcastle, exactly, and I've also got an office in Bucharest. And actually, our Bucharest office is our biggest office. We've got an IT, data, digital services team and a research team based here in Bucharest. Obviously, a highly in-demand population, but in particular, the research team, absolutely ideal for a good data science or social sciences graduate. Who's had the experience in the UK. So we're very, very interested in following up with the organisations here, and also with the platform that the Chamber of Commerce has put in place to post some roles. But we like to be competitive with our salaries, but we're not, Cisco and Google, who are also looking for good graduates coming back to Bucharest. So what I have experienced, and I don't know whether others on the call have, is that it is relatively easy for graduates to jump from one job to the next, because there is a slight salary increase. Actually, we've got a good team in Bucharest where the majority of the team have been in the company for several years. The jobs are very enriching, very rewarding, working for clients literally all over the world. But I need to make sure that I get the salary offering right. So yeah, that's really what I'm interested in. Even just from the students, if you've got some experience that you'd like to share, don't be shy. Please do go ahead and let me know. It's interesting to find out.
Perhaps, Robert, perhaps I can jump on you.
Can I? Neil, it's Joseph. Can I maybe share my experience as well on this, on the question of Kirsten? Okay, so we are a school. We are Cambridge School of Bucharest, and I can share maybe from the educational side our experience on your question, Kirsten. When there is Romanian national who has studied in the UK with a UK qualification and degree, usually in terms of percentage, because I mean it depends on the position, of course, the level of the salary. It's paid, let's say, I would say, in our around 30% more than the national, and compared to British national, maybe it's paid. I would say maybe 10% below, but the good point is that usually we can save the accommodation usually, because for the British teachers that we hire, we have to pay in addition to the salary, the flight tickets and accommodation. So this is I can say in financial words, it's a saving, and it's maybe a bit lower salary, but not a lot in terms of salary. I don't know if it can help you.
Thank you.
Robert,
Yeah.
how much do we hire you for?
It's a lot of pressure on my shoulders at this moment, but I will start with a disclaimer that that this information is not official. It's just discussion among students that are planning to come home and asking, all right, what's the salary? What should I expect? And da 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 da. All right, I will definitely come starting at this point. And so unofficial from discussion among students, what we can say is that in Bucharest, you can find actually a really, really good time and having, because when we look at the salary, first of all, I think first cover the fixed costs, right? The accommodation, the utilities, the necessity, the groceries cost, and after that to have just a bit more just to I don't know, for hobbies, time for doing I don't know, have stuff to buy and so on. What we discussed and what we heard is that in Bucharest you can do a lot of stuff if you are paid per month 800 pounds. So starting with 800 pounds, I don't know if it's a lot. I don't know. It's for the minimum wage in Romania, it's double. I think it's double compared with the minimum wage in Romania. But in Bucharest, so we're talking about a capital, a growth city that you can compare it with other cities in Europe. Starting with 800 pounds per month, it's a safe net. I mean, you have time for, you can cover the cost, not just for a really good accommodation, but also for utilities and groceries. And upon that, you still have a lot of time, because even if it's a capital, the life costs, you cannot compare them with London, for example, or even to Manchester, where I lived for 3 years. I hope this is helpful.
Thank you. Have anyone else got some thoughts on that for Kirsten? One question, of course, is, do all the students want to come back to Bucharest? Because Romania is a large country and there are many other pleasant cities. I mean, there's the tech cluster we have up in Cluj-Napoca, to some extent also in Iași and Sibiu and Timișoara, all attractive cities with lots of good people. Have you any view upon people who are coming back? Is it just Bucharest they want to come to?
Well, that was going to be my point, Neil, and I apologize. I didn't put my iPods in. Tech always gets the better of me. I'm going to make an observation more than a question. Firstly, everything I think that's been said has been very valuable and topical. And certainly the work the Chamber's doing on internships and the work that Robert's talking about in terms of redefining internships is very valuable. But spending a lot of time with Romanian students, not just in British universities, but other universities around the world, what I noticed is it's a very hard sell to get them to come straight back. They've just spent a number of years in another country at a formative stage in their life. And they're normally, the universities are doing work, and the vocational colleges are doing a pretty good job at helping them get employment in their country of residence at that time. What I think is an interesting segment in the market are people who've had, say, 3 to 5 years work experience in another country and who are looking to come back to Romania and either start a business or to join something that's fairly young and dynamic, particularly where they can get equity. Now, a lot of the people obviously have their own connections, etc., through family, friends, associates. But I think if the Chamber were to reach out and try and create a platform to help those people, initially just through exchanges of ideas, etc., and a lot of those folks will look to go outside Bucharest. I mean, I'm a small, but an angel investor in a number of companies that fall into this category, where I sponsor people who are returning, and the majority of them now are choosing not to locate in Bucharest. And 4 of the companies I'm an investor in are actually located in what I've called towns rather than cities, and they're getting a lot of benefit from that. Now, this is a very positive community, stimulating people to do it, but then I think actually the Chamber could play a very beneficial role, actually talking to people who are currently doing it, because they're a wonderful example of an ambassador. And it does slightly break the negative sense, which a lot of older Romanian folks explained to me, and I think which our ambassador got recently from the Minister of Education, that Britain is seen as, and other countries are seen as, stealing the Romanians, their students. Now, it is naive, as I say, to expect them to come straight back. And I would quote, for instance, the Oxford University Romanian Students Association is sponsored by Morgan Stanley. It's very hard to counter an offer from Morgan Stanley in London or New York with a salary Romanian base. But a lot of the people who do those jobs, 3, 5 years, 10 years maybe, are looking to come back and set something up. So I think if the Chamber focuses and the community focuses on that sort of second tier, it could be quite interesting. And as I say, it could have quite broad effects.
Thank you, Martin. Anna, I think we're now over 200 people watching us on Facebook. So we have a good audience here, hopefully all around Romania, the UK, and elsewhere, giving us their views. Can I remind us, if you haven't registered for the Ministry of the Interior webinar on UK citizens' rights, you've got a quarter of an hour to do so, and the address for that was in the chat box at the beginning. Have we any other questions, please?
Sorry, could I just quickly come in with one question for Robert? I mean, I agree completely with what Martin said, and I think it's exactly right. And one of the things that we were very pleased to see is the access to employment for EU national students after Brexit. Sorry, I was trying to avoid using that word. But I wanted to know from Robert, do you stay in touch? Does the League of Romanian Students Abroad stay in touch with alumni of UK universities after they've graduated? So would you could you facilitate that level of contact that Martin was suggesting?
So yeah, because I want to have an intervention on what Martin said as well. So thank you, Nigel, for that. I definitely support what Martin said as well. Really good, insightful information and way there. But all right, so to answer what Neil asked as well, yes, I think cities as Cluj, as Timișoara are keen to be seen by students as hubs or youth hubs or opportunity hubs that will emerge in the next few years, and they are still targeted, especially Cluj. And as well as Martin said, most of other students that are planning to come home, they usually come in their hometown or nearby hometown, just because in Romania, you know, having an education, an academic experience abroad and coming back, people know how much you can miss. So they know how many opportunities there are, for example, in the UK, and they see that with the kind of gratitude, and they are trying to help you in evolving, either if it's an academic side or even if it's on a labor side. And what Nigel said, yeah, we are trying to stay in touch with our alumni. Just to be clear, we have at this moment the League of Romanian Students Abroad. We have 15 branches all over the world, so especially in Europe, but we have also in South Korea, in Japan, or we have in the United States. We have over 200 active volunteers. So each branch has departments, external affairs, communication, a leading board. But when it comes to alumni, that let's take for example all the students that graduated this year from the University of Manchester, let's say, we cannot actually access that data. But what we are planning to do, starting from this year, from this winter, is with a diplomatic mission, the Romanian diplomatic mission, and different institutions from abroad, actually to create a sort of brochure, an alumni brochure for all students that studied in that country. So we are trying to merge, I don't know, and connect all the students that ever studied in that country and promote them, and making it easier to have networking experience among them. And after that, as well, helping them integrate in further labor market or other opportunities.
Thank you.
But to be frank and short, brief, we don't have at this point that alumni information base, or to that extent.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any other questions from?
I think Raymond was, yeah.
Good morning now. Can I have a question for Nigel on the British Council side? I think, does the British Council see a closer tie to the private sector in the UK? Will be crucial to its role for Global Britain in Romania from 2021, particularly, Nigel, as you know, the private sector can now issue its own degrees and overseen by Ofsted, and obviously the private sector is absolutely driving ahead in doing that, not just universities now.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to answer that. I mean, we don't really talk about private sector or public sector. We talk about building connections between the UK and other countries through arts and education. And in the UK, I mean, we do some work through partnering in international student recruitment events where there are representatives from private schools. There are very rarely representatives from private universities in the UK. And of course, many of the arts organisations we work for are private as well as public. If you're talking more broadly around trade, then that's really the domain of the department, the IT.
So Nigel, I just want to make plain that the private sector can now do its own education right up to degree level with Ofsted overseeing it. That's why I'm asking the question, does the British Council really then
Sorry,
see...
I missed the first part of your comment there, Raymond. Could you just repeat it?
So, Nigel, it's very important for you to understand the private sector itself in the UK can now do education itself right up to degree level, with overseeing by Ofsted, and the private sector is going ahead with that. So it's probably something you need to be aware of on your educational remit, that the private sector itself, not just universities, will be involved in the full educational aspect right up to degree level. And one of the reasons is that DGR is particularly involved with that and will be looking to deliver that in Romania.
Okay, I'm very happy to continue this conversation, maybe stay in touch and find out more about that, because it's, I have to confess, it's fairly obvious it's not an area I know very much about, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Nigel.
I might have a comment, if I may, Neil.
Please, Volker.
So hearing about what Martin said about how hard it might get to compete as an employer in Romania by getting people or Romanian students back from the UK, but also Nigel saying, hey, nowadays a leader really is somehow transnational. It's let's say the physical location is not that important anymore. We do have some clients, mainly in the IT&C industry, that actually tell me that well, if you're flexible as an employer with somehow really trying to show what kind of living costs do you have when you live outside of Cluj or outside of Timișoara, or what kind of life do you want when you want to come back from the UK, and then comparing actually the cost of living with the net salary, that this is usually, like, from an employer side, if they are somehow flexible in the setup, which more and more happens, and obviously especially in the IT&C sector, and then showing actually the real cost differences. And here, specifically in that sector, there are higher salaries paid than the amounts that Robert mentioned. I think this is somehow a competitive advantage that Romania as a country and some employers have, that they should be more aware of. So this just as a comment to try to give an advice. Also, I saw in the comment section that from Anka, how do I advise Romanian students that want to come back to Romania? How could they find jobs, and what could you advise them? So this was also related to, that came up from me, that I wanted to share with everyone, that I see this as a real competitive advantage if this is taken smartly by all parties.
Thank you very much indeed. Anka, hopefully that covers your question. I know also there was another question from Kirsten about Brasov. Does anyone have any thoughts about Brasov? Wonderful city as it is. If so, perhaps they can contact Kirsten directly about that. Are there any other general questions for our
Sorry, Neil,
Sorry.
could I just jump in? On Brasov, is home to one of the largest UK-Romanian collaborations in Romania, the American Hotel Academy, which has a partnership with Manchester Metropolitan University and has courses, undergraduate courses as well, which is quite interesting, because some of the best known programs here are at postgraduate level. The best known one that is probably the whole UBB MBA, but there's also two very strong programs between City College Sheffield and Sinisapa as well. But there's the undergrad program at Manchester is large. Manchester Brasov is a large one. There's also a new program between Coventry University and Regina Maria Hospital, training nurses, which I think is in its infancy. I'm not quite, I think their launch might have been postponed a little bit because of the pandemic. But so Brasov's something that's something for us to build on, actually, if we want to build more of that provision here in Romania.
Thank you very much indeed. We now have 230 people watching us on Facebook, which is up there with the highest number we've ever had. Can I just remind anyone, British nationals watching us in Romania, that there is, you have 5 minutes left if you want to register for tomorrow's Ministry of the Interior webinar on UK residents. I've just put in the notice again in the chat box with the address, so if you are interested in that, please do register in the next 5 minutes. Are there any other questions upon education at the moment, please? I think our panel has done exceptionally well. They seem to have exhausted all the questions. Anna, is there anything else that you're aware of?
No, there are no more questions for now.
That was certainly a most interesting webinar. Thank you all very much indeed. On the subject of education, can I mention to those watching, one of our members is the Association Associația pentru Valori in Educație, and they have an online gala this evening. Personally, I think it's very important for the companies doing business in Romania to have a supply of well-educated people, whether they are staying in Romania or coming back to Romania. So if I may, I will just draw your attention to that by posting the website address for details of their online gala this evening. You all have that now in the chat box. So that I think would be interesting for everyone to have a look at tonight. AVE is organized by business, and it is, I gather, completely independent of the state. So I hope that will be of interest to you all also. Thank you for your participation today. Thank you to our speakers. Anna, what have we got next?
Thank you, Neil. Thank you again to our speakers. Thank you, Robert, Nigel, and Alice, for the very valuable presentations you have provided for our attendees. We are officially approaching, we've already entered the festive season. This is why we still have two events until the end of the year. One will be next week. It will be our first virtual wine tasting. And the second will be as well next week, our last networking event, together with our friends and partners from More Networking. I will leave in the chat room the link to our website, where you can see all of our events, as well as our partners' events. So you can see AVE's events as well on our website. And of course, our social media is updated daily with info on our initiatives and events. Thank you very much again, and have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Madeline and Stefan at the Chamber, for organizing this. Thank you all for attending, and hopefully now, once this ends, my internet connection will return to normal. Thank you all very much indeed. Have a good day.
Thank you too.
Thank you.